Good morning, Mr. Daldis here with your reading for Chapter 11, Kingdoms and Trading States of Africa. Today we're going to begin with Section 1, Early Civilizations in Africa. The vast and perilous Sahara, the largest desert in the world, is just one of the geographic features in the great variety of African landscapes. For thousands of years, the geographic features of this huge continent have played a major role in its development. The influence of geography. Africa is the second largest continent. Its size and location contribute to its wide range of climates, vegetation, and terrains. The variety has greatly influenced the diversity of culture found in Africa. Geographic patterns. As shown in this section's map, Africa's vegetation regions create wide bands that stretch across the continent. Along the equator is a band of tropical rainforest. Moving north and south from this band are the continent's largest and most populated regions, the savannas, or grassy plains. Beyond the savannas lie the great African deserts. These vegetation regions affect how people live and how they make a living. Africa's geographic features also influence cultural development by acting as barriers or highways to easy movement of people, goods, and ideas. In addition to the deserts and rainforests, Africa's high plateau interior and rivers with cataracts or waterfalls hindered easy movement. While on the other hand, the Great Rift Valley served as an interior passageway, and the Mediterranean and Red Seas provided overseas trade routes to regions in Southwest Asia and present-day Europe. Resources spur trade. Since ancient times, Africa's mineral wealth has spurred trade across the continent. Salt, gold, iron, and copper were particularly valuable items to early trade and brought great wealth and power to African trading cities. Trade also linked Africa to other continents. Initially hindered by the vast deserts, early trade greatly expanded with the introduction of a new form of transportation from Asia, the camel. By AD 200, these ships of the desert had revolutionized trade across the Sahara. Although early traders have made a difficult desert crossing in horse-drawn chariots, camel caravans created new trade networks. Camels could carry heavy loads and plod 20 or 30 miles a day, often without water. The caravans brought great profits to merchants on both sides of the Sahara. Here's your checkpoint. What geographic features limited movement in Africa, and what made them obstacles? Take a moment and answer that question, and then you may move on. People and ideas migrate. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence that Africa was the home of the earliest ancestors of modern people. In spite of geographic barriers, various members of these groups migrated all over Africa and beyond. The Sahara dries out. In Africa, as elsewhere, Paleolithic people developed skills as hunters and food gatherers. By 5500 BC, Neolithic farmers had learned to cultivate the Nile Valley and to domesticate animals. As farming spread across North Africa, Neolithic villages even appeared in the Sahara, which was then a well-watered area. Ancient rock paintings have been found that show a Sahara that was full of forests and rivers. About 2500 BC, a climate change slowly dried out the Sahara. As land became parched, the desert spread. This process of desertification devoured thousands of acres of cropland and pasture land. The Sahara's desertification prompted migration, as people were forced to seek new areas to maintain their way of life. The Bantu migrations. Over thousands of years, migrations contributed to the rich diversity of cultures in Africa. Scholars have traced these migrations by studying language patterns. They have learned, for example, that West African farmers and herders migrated to the south and east between about 1000 BC and AD 1000. Like the Indo-European peoples of Europe and Asia, these West African peoples spoke a variety of languages deriving from a single common language. The root language is called Bantu, which gives this movement its name, the Bantu migrations. As they migrated into southern Africa, Bantu speakers spread their skills in farming, ironworking, and domesticating animals. Some existing cultures merged with those of the Bantu speakers wherever they settled. The influence of the Bantu speakers is still found in the languages of the region today. Checkpoint. How did migration affect the development of African cultures? Take a minute to pause and answer this question. Nubia flourishes along the Nile. About 2700 BC, the great civilization of Egypt was growing along the northern banks of the Nile. At the same time, as shown on the map in the next section, another African civilization was taking shape to the south. On a wide band of fertile land known as the Upper Nile, the ancient kingdom of Nubia, also called Kush, was flourishing in present-day Sudan. Nubia rivals Egypt. Trade led to contact between Nubia and Egypt. It also led to rivalry as both powers desired to control trade in the region. By 1500 BC, Nubia was under Egyptian control and remained so for almost 500 years. As a result, Nubians adapted many Egyptian traditions. They modeled palaces and pyramids on Egyptian style and worshipped Egyptian deities. By 1100 BC, Egyptian control was declining and Nubia gained its independence. In fact, about 730 BC, the Nubian king Pinki actually conquered Egypt. In 670 BC, however, Nubia was invaded by the Assyrians from southwest Asia. Unable to match the superior iron weapons of these invaders, the Nubian armies were forced to retreat from Egypt and return to the south. Meroe masters trade and iron. By 500 BC, Assyrian invaders had forced Nubian rulers to move their capital from Napata to Meroe. Meroe eventually commanded both the Nile's north-south trade route and east-west trade route from the Red Sea to North Africa. Along this wide trade network, Nubia sent gold, ivory, animal skins, perfumes, and enslaved people to the Mediterranean world and Southwest Asia. Meroe's location was a major region for its development into a successful center of trade. Equally important, however, was the region's resources. Meroe was rich in iron ore. Fueled by the region's large quantities of timber, the smelting furnaces of Meroe produced the iron tools and weaponry needed to feed, control, and defend the kingdom. Today, giant heaps of iron waste remain as evidence of ancient Meroe's industry. Splendor and decline. Although Nubia absorbed much from Egypt, Nubian culture later followed its own course. For example, after gaining independence from Egypt, Nubians worshipped their own gods, including Apetamak, a lion-headed warrior god. At Meroe, artistic styles reflected a greater sense of freedom than did Egyptian styles. Nubians also created their own system of writing, using an alphabet instead of hieroglyphics. Unfortunately, the Nubian alphabet has yet to be deciphered and still remains a mystery. After the joint reign of King Natakamani and Queen Amanatir in the 1st century AD, the splendor of Nubian's golden age dimmed. Finally, about AD 350, Nubia was overwhelmed by King Ezana's armies from the kingdom of Axum to the south. Axum would make its own mark on the region along the Nile. Checkpoint. How did conquest affect the development of Nubia? Take a moment to answer that question. Outside influences affect North Africa. The Nile was not the only waterway that influenced the development of civilizations in Africa. Early African civilizations also had strong ties to the regions across the Mediterranean and Red Seas. The Phoenicians built Carthage. As Nubia was thriving along the Nile, Carthage was rising as a great North African power. Founded by Phoenician traders as a port on the Mediterranean coast, Carthage came to dominate Western Mediterranean trade. From 800 BC to 146 BC, it forged an empire that stretched from present-day Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco to southern Europe. As you have read, however, territorial and trade rivalries between Rome and Carthage eventually led to a series of conflicts called the Punic Wars. At the end of the Third Punic War, the Romans literally burned Carthage to the ground. Rome rules North Africa. After defeating Carthage, Rome gained control of a narrow strip of North Africa between the Mediterranean coast and the Sahara. There, they built roads, dams, aqueducts, and cities. The Romans developed and utilized North Africa's farmlands as a granary, a region that produces much grain, to feed the Roman Empire. North Africa also provided soldiers for the Roman army, including Septimius Severus, who would later become an emperor of Rome. Under Roman rule, Christianity spread to the cities of North Africa. In fact, St. Augustine, the most influential Christian thinker of the late Roman Empire, was born in present-day Algeria. From AD 395 to AD 430, Augustine was bishop of Hippo, the city located near the ruins of ancient Carthage. Islam spreads into Africa. In the 690s, Muslim Arabs conquered and occupied the cities of North Africa. By the early 700s, they had successfully conquered the Berbers, a largely nomadic North African people. Under Arab rule, Islam eventually replaced Christianity as the dominant religion of North Africa, and Arabic replaced Latin as its language. Muslim civilizations blossomed in cities such as Cairo, Fez, and Marrakesh, which became famous for their mosques and universities. Over time, Muslim traders from North Africa carried Islam into West Africa. Checkpoint. How did trade cause change in North Africa? Take a moment to answer this question. Thanks for listening to this reading for Chapter 11, Section 1. Stay tuned for Section 2. Thanks. Have a great day.